You know, we've done a lot of remakes, and we recently asked y'all, what fast food remakes would y'all like to see us do? Arby's beef and cheddar. We are going to deconstruct theirs and construct it the Cowboy way. We're going to go to Arby's. We got meats. See the sign up there, Mage?
Welcome to Arby's, order ready.
Yes, ma'am. I'd like 2 beef and cheddar sandwiches and some Arby's sauce, and that'll do me.
Okay, I'll have to turn off the window. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Look at all that stuff they got on the menu. Buffalo chicken. They talking about beef, not chicken. How are you, ma'am?
I'm doing good. How about you?
I ain't even better. I'd quit. I'm finna have my first ever Arby's beef and cheddar sandwich.
What?
Ever. Yes.
You want some Arby's sauce with that?
Yes, ma'am. And if you'll be watching YouTube in maybe like a couple of weeks, you'll see this video.
All right. You put me in there?
Oh, you're already there. She's filming.
Just wave.
We probably won't get to come back here. Ooh, Maggie, look at that cheesy goodness, Maggie. We're gonna put some of this in there. I don't have no slicer, and I would say that's pretty thin, but the meat looks good. To me, the meat is just a tad dry. But other than that, hey, my first ever Arby's roast beef and cheddar. So let's take a look at the Arby's. Let's just go ahead and get all the players out here. And Shen, you owe me $7.69, okay? I would probably toast this bun, because when you don't toast a bun and you've got, I think it gets soggy, if you can see what I'm talking about. Let's take some meat off here, and I'm really shocked that, look at all this. Now, they didn't scrimp on the meat for sure. It's still coming out here, so hey, I tip my hats at Arby's, folks. I will really commend them for the amount of meat that they put on the sandwich for the price that it is. So, hey, I think they did all right. And I got to looking at Arby's beef and cheddar and all the different ways that everybody fixed it. But the number one thing that everyone had in common was they go to the store and they buy some thinly sliced roast beef in a little package. Then they just take the beef and they put it in a skillet or something, or a crock pot, pour some beef broth over it, and they call it Arby's beef and cheddar. I'm going to start out with real beef. I'm going to use a bottom round roast, probably about 3.5 pounds. And you see me when I trim this thing up, trim that bottom cap of fat off right there. But if you'll look on one side, there's always going to be just a little line of fat right there and a little piece of gristle on that outside corner. You know what that is for? That is dog treats. So you just slice that piece off, put it over there to the side. Now we have a very good lean piece of meat. Now, to get this thing to where it is the maximizing of the tenderness, is that a word, maximizing? Yes. Maximilian, maximizing, tenderizing, yes. You want to put it in a crock pot. So let's get that bottom round out here and let's season it well. Now I'm going to use some garlic powder, some smoked paprika. I'm going to use some of our mesquite seasoning. I'm going to mix it really well all together with some coarse ground pepper and a little bit of salt. And we're just going to rub it generously over the whole thing. I mean, make sure that you have that thing covered well with seasoning, because this is 3.5 to 4 pounds of meat, so it needs to be seasoned well. You got that crock pot out, go ahead and turn it on high right now. Pour that beef broth in there, and we're going to give it time for that beef broth to get hot. I want you to break out the cast iron skillet and a big white onion, and I want you to chop that thing up. Now, skillet's over medium heat. Go ahead and have you 1/2 of a stick of butter and go ahead and put it in there with a tablespoon of avocado oil, or you can use olive oil, because that's going to keep that butter from burning. Put them onions in there, and we're just going to let them caramelize a little and cook all in that butter and get really good and flavorful and tender. Now, while that's doing that, let's go ahead and take what? 1 more stick of butter, lay in that crock pot. I like to break it in half, put it at both ends. It can just melt and float across there. I mean, it looks so pretty as it's just swimming in all that beef broth. We can go ahead and set that roast in there gingerly. Let's go back over there to that onions, give them another stir, And something that I seen in all these recipes that everybody was using, they was putting either white sugar or brown sugar in there. This probably gonna blow your mind right here too, but we're gonna use some honey. Let it cook down for maybe 2 to 3 minutes till where it's really sort of not like jelly, but it thickens them onions up, and then you take that skillet and you pour that right over the top of that roast, and oh my gosh, the flavor is coming out. Now, why did we do that with them onions? Because you say there's no onions in this. Well, folks, a lot of times when you look at an Arby's copycat recipe, they'll be saying, use Lipton onion soup mix. And I guarantee you the broth that comes off this thing, you're gonna be thinking is the best thing in the world. We're gonna let it cook on high 4 hours. And then we're gonna turn it down. We're gonna let it go probably an hour to an hour and a half till you can reach that fork in there. I don't want it to fall apart because this roast has to be sliced. So just get it to where it's fork tender, to where you can get that fork in there really good. Now, due to the magic of TV, a Dodge truck, and a portable crock pot, hey, we got it all here. Now, when you take that thing out of there, and like I say, it has to be fork tender, I need you to just set it somewhere, cover it, let it cool off enough to where you can slice it, because we don't have a meat slicer out here like Arby's, one of them, I got the meat slicing. And they get it like paper thin to where you can lay it here and you can see the map that says take Highway 62, 42 miles to the intersection of 39 and 64 and then turn left. But it's so tender when you bite into it that way. So we're gonna let this cool. Get you a sharp knife, and I need you to go just as thin as you can be and just slice however it wants to fall off. You gotta have
The meats.
plenty of meat. What does Arby say?
We got the meats.
We got the meats. I hope that Arby's takes a look at this and think, this is the way we need to make our roast beef sandwiches from now on. The Cowboy Kent way. Right back in the broth it goes, because folks, you heard me say I thought their meat was just a little bit dry. So we're just gonna lay them in here and put the main character back in here so he can stay warm. And look who it is. When you talked about meat, somebody showed up. It is the #1 culinary hound in all of the world. Let me introduce you to Bonehead the Beagle. Thank you, buddy, for being... Where's Mage? He must be gone. Everybody is in somewhere else land. Now, we're going to put this in there, and folks, we just unplugged that not long ago, so I'm not going to heat it up. That stuff is still warm. It is. Leave it in there probably close to 5 to 10 minutes. Really, it depends on how fast can Kent make the Cowboy cheese sauce that goes on there. So we'll let it sit till we get all that done, doctor them buns up, and Well, it wouldn't be Arby's without the Arby's sauce. See here? Arby's sauce. Had a lot of vinegar in there. Oh my gosh. So we're going to doctor that up quite a bit. We are. First, we're going to start with some ketchup. And anything that we use today will be listed down there in the little link below to where you can get this copycat recipe. And we're going to use about a cup. About probably pretty close to a tablespoon of mayonnaise. I need you to be breaking out your favorite hot sauce. The good folks in the southeastern and the southern United States turned me on to this Crystal's hot sauce when we did what? The shrimp po' boy sandwich. And oh my gosh, this stuff is good. Give her a shake or two. Liquid smoke. Remember me telling you about this stuff? I love to use the mesquite flavor. I'm just going to pour a little in a capful, and I'm going to tell you a tip right now that not many of you will know. If you're ever going to put this directly on meat, don't just put it on there and think I'm going to brush it around. Mix it in and dilute it down with water. That way it will spread evenly on whatever you're trying to put it on. Remember, they had some vinegar. We're going to have some. We're just not going to have as much as they did. Let me just go ahead and get me one of these capfuls. We're going to add a little garlic powder. And we're going to add a little smoked paprika because I really do be loving this stuff. A little bit of onion powder. We got to have a little bit of sugar to combat all the ingredients that we've put in there. So we're going to add about, whoa, that was nearly too much, but it come out just right. Get her mixed up really well. I'm just going to tell you right now, Arby's will be trying to get this into the sack. I know that for sure. Well, you seen that 2 tablespoons of butter go in there, and then we had 2 tablespoons of flour on that. Let that butter melt. Put that flour in there, incorporate it well. Then we're going to use about 1 1/4 cups of milk. I like to start out on the cup side before I go to the 4th side. Get that to in there to where that milk can go to warming up. Milk is warm, simmering right along. 8 ounces of cheese is going in there, finely grated it is. Get her all in there.
That's technically shredded.
What'd I say?
Grated.
It's pretty close to that. They had to grate it to get it in that shape, right?
No.
And when you go to stirring, and folks, remember I told you about that 1 1/4 cup of milk. If we need it, we'll put it in there. But I really don't want this cheese sauce to run all over the sandwich. I want it to sort of stay in there. So we're going to go pretty thick, we are. Now, I think something that this needs that I sure didn't taste in theirs is a little bit of smoked paprika. So we're going to give it a shake or 2 or 6. And if you really want to tune this up a little, and since this is Shen's favorite sandwich, she won't let me do it, I'd put me some red pepper flakes in there. I would. Now, Shen, you're a cheese sauce connoisseur.
Ooh, that was yummy.
I would think that was pretty close to what we're after.
Yep.
Now, folks, when it comes time and you're using this stuff, and say you got through and you got cheese sauce left, let it cool, put it in an ice box, bring it back out. You can always reheat it and thin it with just a little milk to get it back warm. So, we've had to move on and assemble us some Arby's beef and cheddar. Another masterpiece has been created. Yes, it has. And you could see as we layered that meat on there. First, go ahead and take that bottom bun after you get it good and toasted in that butter, and then just layer there. Get that meat out of that crock pot because it's got that good, what you call that word, Shen? Au jus? Is that what it's called? I just call it broth. Meat is so tender. Pile it on there as much as you want. And let's look. We get it down here and measure. Well, I would say we are a good 1 3/8 of an inch taller there. So I think right there would be a good place to start, don't you, Shen? Napkins are required. Hello? Arbys? You ain't got the meat. I got it over here. I just cooked it. You'll be wanting the recipe because it'll make you want to do what? The Arby shuffle. Woo! I'm talking about, this might become a favorite sandwich of mine. It could be. So tender, not any dryness to it because it was tender when it come out. Soak back in that crock pot a minute, lay up on there. Can't go wrong with it, folks. It is a winner. Well, folks, right off the bat, I want to tell you something that I really think is very, very important. I am not making fun of these people or their food that they make at these places. Because think of the millions of folks that get fed by going up to a drive-up window. These folks is actually doing a job. They are, and I'm proud of them. Now, I'll also tell them, we're going to cowboy up every one of them that we see and we get a chance to. But as always, and with great privilege and honor, I salute all our servicemen and women and all the veterans who have kept that old flag a-flying, no matter where we may be or where they're at. We bless you all, and hey, we just hope you have the happiest day ever. Come on in here now. Y'all know what time it is. Time for that big hug. Couldn't get by without it. Squeeze it tight. It's a hug for y'all, it is. God bless you each and every one, and I'll see you down the remake of the Arby's roast beef and cheddar I Made It Better trail.